Welcome to my GTA 4 tier list video. I've already made one on Vice City. It was apparently pretty controversial. But we're going to do GTA 4 today, which I'm less experienced with, but I've done a playthrough of it recently, and we're currently working towards 100%, but we're done with all the story missions. So we're going to do actually two tier lists today. The first one is going to be of all the GTA 4 mission givers. This also includes T-Lad and Ballad Gay Tony. I played through both of those games. I've 100%ed them, but I played through them. And then we're also going to rank all of each of GTA 4's missions. Just GTA 4 is not going to do the episodes. And I want to say one more thing. There are these two icons right here. I'm pretty sure these are unused. L, I have no idea what that could be. KM is Kate McCreary, obviously. But I'm pretty sure she's also unused, unless maybe there's an icon when you go on a date with her or something. I don't know. But she's not a mission giver. L, I have no clue what that is. But that is not a mission giver. I can tell you that for sure. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're doing the GTA 4 mission givers first. Starting with Roman. It's Roman. So I'm going to be basing these off of their missions overall. So some of these rankings will be in coinciding with the GTA 4 one. However, I will also look at the characters some as well. So this is based mostly off the missions, but also the characters themselves. Now, Roman's missions are only introductory. The only mission he technically has that's later than introductory is Mr. and Mrs. Bellic, but that's some of the phone missions. Unless they're like some of the ones are unclear who exactly is the mission giver, like some of the end game missions, like Mr. and Mrs. Bellic, the final mission, that special someone. It's not always exactly clear whose mission it is. Hostile negotiation. Those often are all considered Roman missions, but I'm not going to consider them in my assessment here. So Roman is a great character. He's exactly the type of annoying cousin he can be. His missions, though, are not interesting. They're like his second to last mission before Roman Sorrow. Wait. Yeah, before Roman Sorrow, which again is another one of those that's like, yeah, it's kind of Roman's mission, but it's a phone mission, I think. His last mission before that is Logging On, which is just teaching you how to use the computer. Like, that's the last mission he gives. Now, he does give Uncle Vlad, which is a pinnacle point early on in the game. He has, like, you meet a lot of characters through him, but his missions aren't all that great. His missions are, but they're needed. So I'm going to put him in B. Next is Michelle. She has one mission. That is first date. And I'm putting her in F just because that's the only mission she has. And it's not a fun mission at all. It's just teaching you how the dating mechanic works. And she's, I felt like they could have done more with her in the story, to be honest. Feel like they could have had a few more missions. Like 2, maybe, missions. Like, I almost feel that they could have become a little closer. So Michelle's or Karen's betrayal was a little more deep, because if you don't hang out with her outside the story, it's just like, oh, I've seen you once, X amount of time later, I'm actually an agent. Well, I've seen you like twice ever, so how unfortunate. So I'm gonna put Michelle in F. Now, Vlad and his death, which his death isn't his mission, but Vlad is a pretty key character early on, because his death is what triggers everything else, really. Now, Vlad only has 4 missions. He's got The Bull in the China Shop, Hung Out to Dry, Clean Getaway, and Ivan, the Not So Terrible. Which none of them are great missions. They're pretty introductory. Like Bull in the China Shop teaches you how you can pick up items off the ground, and then it's never used again. That's something you can do in your own time. Clean or hung Out to Dry is nothing new. It's just a chase sequence. Clean Getaway is teaching how to use the car wash mechanic, which once again you never use ever again. And both of these mechanics, by the way, are optional. You don't actually have to use them. You can shoot the glass for Bull in a China Shop, and this one you can just paint spray. And Ivan the Not So Terrible is another really annoying chase. So I think I'm gonna put Vlad in D. None of them are great missions. Little Jacob, he is such a key character in the story. Like, such a key character. He finds where Pecorino is in the revenge ending. Like, but he has 2 missions. That's it, and they're both early game missions, technically. You got Concrete Jungle and you got Shadow. Concrete Jungle... What is that one? That's the one where you just run over a few dudes. Not the best mission. Shadow's a bit more interesting, but once again, it's another chase mission. It's nothing special. I think I'm gonna put Little Jacob also in D. Brucey. Brucey's fine. In base game, he's fine. Like, he's not great, but he's not bad. He's, once again, only got 4 missions. But you can do races with him, which, if the races weren't so long in this game, I'd actually enjoy him. I like GTA 4's driving. But he's got... Search and delete. Easy as can be. Out of the closet. Like, all the missions basically are just cleaning up loose ends for Brucey, except for number 1. But they also aren't the worst missions. I think I'm going to put him in C. Brucey's a C. Faustin, being one of the main antagonists, even though really Nico's betraying him. He'd be what? I guess, like, I mean, some people consider Darko to be like a tertiary antagonist, but some just because he's insignificant in the actual game. Because, like, he has 1 appearance. He's more of just an overarching antagonist and not someone you're battling throughout the game or has, like, a key place in the story. Faustin has more of that. He's more of a tertiary antagonist kind of thing. So, I like Faustin as more of the tertiary antagonist. I can't think about his death. But Faustin's missions aren't bad. There's... do you have protection? Which is the fine mission. You also you unlock the gun stores with it. Final Destination isn't the best mission. GTA 5 is not going to have a whole lot of S missions. Or GTA 5. GTA 4 is not going to have a lot of S missions, I'll tell you that. No Love Lost. Same thing. It's not the best mission. But if you do the chase all the way, then the shootout at the end is pretty interesting. And then Rig to Blow is not a bad mission by any means. It's really just a better version of the Rig to Blow from GTA 3. I mean, it's the same overall concept. If you hit something too many times or too hard, you explode. But GTA 4 also gives you the ability to not die if the vehicle explodes. Because it does have a delay, you can dive out. But we'll talk more about that when we get there. Faustin's missions are fine. I think I'm going to put it in a B. Dimitri. So, Dimitri has 1/2 mission. He has 1 mission that's, like, on the map. but technically his mission right after that's a phone call is pretty clearly his. So I'll rope that into. So yeah, I have Master of the Molotov and Russian Revolution, which are two key missions in the story, and they are both good missions, I think. Like both the shootouts are pretty interesting. I like missions where you're killing an antagonist for the most part because they're usually really well designed. So I honestly, even though he has two missions, I'm gonna put him in A tier. He has two missions, but I like those two missions. And he's a good antagonist. Like as a character, he is a good, well designed character. All right, Manny. Manny is going straight into F. Manny's and almost all of that's for Escuela of the Streets, his first mission, worst mission in the game. But Street Sweeper, you go to a location, kill some dudes. Mission passed. Puerto Rican Connection. What was Puerto Rican Connection? I never can remember what Puerto Rican Connection is. But clearly it's not memorable. Oh no, it's the one where you chase the dude on the train, right? So yeah, his missions aren't good by any means. None of his missions are good. He's a really freaking annoying character, and he's insignificant. Like he has 3 missions, and then he dies. Nothing interesting about that. So Elizabeta, my opinion about her has changed over the years. I originally hated her missions, but now they're some of my favorite missions. Like Snowstorm, I used to hate. Now it's one of my favorite missions. Luckily Irish, you introduced to the sniper rifle. It's fine. What's the mission after that? Blow Your Cover. Also, pretty good shootout. Like T-Lad has his shootout in the same building for Buyer's Market because it's one of those crossover missions. The T-Lad one's way worse. T-Lad's shootout in that building is significantly worse. GTA 4 did that shootout right in that building. Snowstorm, also a fantastic shootout. Once you actually get a little better at the game, it's not as hard. It's a good shootout. And then Have a Heart's kind of a mean mission because there's 2 ways to complete it, and one of them takes like 10 seconds. Reminds me a lot of the Aldine or the last Vinewood Souvenirs mission, GTA 5, where you're supposed to like drive this long distance, but in reality you can finish it in just a few seconds. So honestly, I'm going to put Elizabeta's missions in S. I like Elizabeta's missions. They are solid. Francis's missions. Francis is the first McCreary you do missions for. I think you can. Well, you might be able to package missions. Can't remember. Francis in the speedrun at least is the first character you do the McCreary missions for because there's so many McCreary missions. My God, does he have the most? Gerald and him might be tied because he has more than Packy and more than Derek. Gerald might have like one more though, but he has more than the other 2. So Francis's missions though they're not bad, but they're all very similar. They're all taking down people that Francis doesn't like, that could compromise his job. Like Call and Collect, that's the blackmail mission, I believe. Final Interview, it's the lawyer one. That one's a fine mission though. It's a good shootout if you stay in the building. Lure, is that what it's called? Lure. That one is a really fascinating mission. We'll talk more about that. So they're all pretty distinctly different missions, but they all have the same premise. So I think I'm gonna put Francis. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it in B. I'm not gonna order these in the tier list. We might order them in the tier list at the end. All right, Playboy X has three missions. Technically, actually 2. The last one is a toss-up who it's for. Deconstruction for Beginners and Photo Shoot, though, are both fine missions. Deconstruction for Beginners, like, significantly upgrades your arsenal. Like you get like AKs, snipers, grenades, like it just gives you a bunch of great weapons and it's a fun mission. It's again one of my favorite missions. Um Photo shoot is a really quick mission, but you get the new phone. And it shows you can use the camera and stuff. But and then there's the haul and play, but that's one of those toss up missions. So I think I'm gonna probably put him in X. Oh my god. In C. Well, no, we'll put him in B. Just because I feel like they could have done a little more with him. Like they were pretty filler. And his missions, while they unlock later missions, they're way later, and there's no story reason for them to be unlocked other than the fact that he gives you the new phone. Like, otherwise, there's no reason for him to exist. Dwayne's missions are all optional. I'm not gonna hold that against him though. So we have Rough Rider, which is a chase and kill mission, and then Undressed to Kill, which is could have been a lot better. It could have been like Boulevard Baby in Battle Gay Tony. Boulevard Baby is Undressed to Kill done right. Shootout in the nightclub. The thing is with Undressed to Kill, I shouldn't talk about specific missions so much because we'll get there. Undressed to Kill, it's supposed to be shoot out in the nightclub, but once you kill one dude, the other two just run out the door and get in their cars, and it becomes another chase mission. So Dwayne's missions are not that great, but they're not F tier, so I'm gonna put him at a D. And thinking with that, I'm actually gonna bump. No, I'm not. All right, ULP missions. There's a reason for them to exist. That does not mean they're good. There's several of them. There's like Wrong is Right, Portrait of a Killer, Dust Off, and Paper Trail. Now, Wrong is Right and Portrait of a Killer, I mix up so much because they aren't memorable. And Dust Off is a really crappy mission. Paper Trail is also not great either, but it's a little better. Honestly, ULP's missions are an F. The character is great, but that does not make up for its missions. They're just bad. Alright, so Packy's missions. What is there? There's Harboring a Grudge. Great mission. Waste Not, Want Nots. Great shootout. Three Leaf Clover. Fantastic mission. Once you get past the difficulty. Packy's missions. Oh, and there's Blood Brother, too. Not Blood Brother. Undertaker. Which is also a cool mission. I think he's an S. I think he might just be an S. Because he's got Three Leaf Clover, which is arguably one of the most memorable missions in GTA 4, if not the most memorable mission. Like, it's got a lot going for it. Ray's missions, Ray Boccino, his missions, he's got a lot of them all at once. In the speedrun, you just do them all back to back, I'm pretty sure. Minus speaking that Floridians, which toss up. But are any of Ray's only super memorable mission for me is Museum Piece, which is a hard but pretty good mission. So I think Ray's missions are probably an A, to be honest, because Late Checkout's also a good mission. So I think we're going to put Ray in A tier. Derek's missions are pretty crap, but they're not horrible. There's only 3 of them. Kind of. And it's got another mission that's a toss-up, like Haul and Play. He's got... What does he have? Smackdown, Babysitting, and Tunnel of Death. Smackdown is another police car mission. Which means it's bad. I hate the police car missions. Babysitting is exactly as the mission sounds. It's babysitting a boat. It's awful. Ugh. And Tunnel of Death is just annoying because you have to lose a 1th level in the slow van. and then drive really far. But none of them are problematic either. Like, babysitting is boring, sure, but it's not bad. Like, there are worse missions like that. Same with the police car mission. Like, which one is it? Is it Portrait of a Killer for ULP? That one's worse because this one actually has a police car chase. That's actually one of the few chases in the game that's kind of difficult in a good way. Um, because some chases in the game you're just following them through roads forever. But this one's like through backyards, through alleys. It's pretty difficult, but in a good way. So I think I'm gonna put Derek's missions on C. So Gerald's missions. Gerald missions are pretty toss up. His first two missions, the actions speak louder than words, and I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle, are not good. Neither of them are good. They're long drives that you can't even skip with taxis. But the second chain, the kidnapping chain, I'll take her. She's a keeper. What is she's a keeper? She's a keeper's not great, but Diamonds Are Girl's best friend, top tier. So Gerald, I think I'm gonna put in B as well. Because they're not horrible. The first two are pretty bad, but the kidnapping chain, especially Diamonds Are Girl's best friend, makes up for that. Bernie's missions. Bernie, he's going into F tier. I'm sorry. I love the character, but his missions are awful. The first one, you do a chase on a Fazio. It's just awful. Like, I don't hate bikes in GTA 4 anymore now that I've figured out, like, the FPS issue. But but a chase on Fazios. Oh my god. Just so bad. Union Drive is also just another long drive. And then Buoys Ahoy is nothing special either. So his missions are not good. Phil's missions, Phil Bell, he's got a variety. His missions aren't like super similar. Truck Hustle. What is Truck Hustle? Is that the one where you steal the truck from a bunch of goons? I think that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. That one's a hard mission because there's a lot of enemies that all pop in front of you at the same time. But it's a decent area to do that, I guess. What other missions do you have? The next one's not memorable. Catch the Wave, where you steal the boat. Not the most memorable mission, but all of Phil's missions are pretty tough. They are some of the harder missions in the game, which, I mean, makes sense. They're late game. Trespass, great mission. Well, it's not great, but it's pretty all right. I like the building you do the shootout in, climbing across the rooftops. It's pretty good. Having, I mean, a poorly designed, but still a helicopter fight. You don't get really many of those. Helicopter kind of acts as a boss. But those missions are, they're all right. Are they an A, though? Yeah, I think they're an A. I think they are an A. Jimmy's missions, I can say for sure, are not an A, though. So he has Pecorino's Pride, which is all right. It's pretty similar to Luck of the Irish. Payback. I don't even remember what that mission is. It's not a memorable mission. And then there's, oh gosh, there's Pest Control. No, there's Flatline, which has a few different ways to complete it. Pest Control, where you kill Ray. And then one last thing, which is just cutscenes. So Jimmy's missions are probably a C. I don't hate them, but they're just there. They're just filler. All right. John Gravelli's missions. They're all very distinct. They're all memorable. Entourage is the one where you're driving some politician dude and then you get stuck in this big firefight with him. It's pretty all right. Dining out, you're fighting through the restaurant. And then it can be a car chase, but you can pretty easily get him before he gets into a car. And then there's Liquidize the Assets, where you have to destroy all the vans in that tight little area, which they're all great shootouts, honestly. Gravelli, honestly, he's an S. He is S tier mission. And then Fixer, his missions are going in a D, and I'm not going to elaborate a whole lot because they're not story missions, technically. I'm not going to really elaborate on them much, but I'm pretty sure they're a random order. But, I don't know. Moving on to T-Lads, dudes. Billy's missions, straight into F, because they're all following him in the biker gang kind of thing for 20 gazillion years. They're all bad. All of Billy's missions are bad. Sorry. TSC is not bad, though. I mean, it's still got the stupid drive, but the shootout with it isn't bad. So, J, that's Jim's missions, Jim Fitzgerald. His missions... His missions aren't as memorable. Gosh, it's been the longest since I played T-Lad. What does he have? He's got... Gosh. Bad cop drop. One where you steal the bikes. If his missions aren't memorable, I'm just going to put it into C because I can hardly remember any of them. So. Elizabeta. Once again. Her missions are pretty fire. Well, no. But they're not as good as GTA 4's. And I'll explain. Buyer's Market is done way more poor than Blow Your Cover, in my opinion. It's way worse. Mata Full of Grace is the other one I can think of. That one's okay. It's like the only time you ever go to the airport. And does Elizabeth have the one where you're on the motorcycle? That one's not good. So I'm gonna put Elizabeth in B this time. Missions just don't go as high. Stubbs, he has 3 missions, including the final mission. So he has Politics, which is the fastest mission in the game. You can just snipe him. Not a super memorable mission, other than the fact that's the shortest mission in the game. Then there's Off Route, awful mission. But then Get Lost makes up for some of it. Get Lost is a fine mission, I think. I mean, it's not the most realistic thing, but I'm not taking realism in as much of the DLCs because they're meant to be a little more lighthearted. Especially about Gay Tony. Get Lost is fine. But the other two are not so fine. So I think I'm gonna put him in C tier. Ashley. What missions does she have? She has the one where you save her, and then doesn't she have the one where you have to kidnap Roman as well? I think that's it. Neither of them are good missions. So I think I'm going to put her in F. They're just not good missions. Ray's missions, again. Ray's missions are pretty fire in T-Lad. You've got Diamonds in the Rough. where you have to go and steal. That one's fine. You got the Trinity one, which I can't remember off the top of my head. And then he's got Was It Worth It, which is his, betrayal kind of thing. Penultimate mission, which has got some interesting battle, and you can choose how you want to do that fight. You can make it really boring, or you can all gang up in one place and take them all down at once. But is he S tier though? Yeah, he's an A tier, I'd say. Moving on to Ballad of Gay Tony now. Tony's missions make up half the story. And there aren't really Ballad of Gay Tony doesn't have a whole lot of bad missions. There's only a couple I can think of. And we'll go more in detail later. But Tony's missions, for the most part, are S tier. Like, most of his missions are pretty good. Like, I think of Bang Bang, Frosting on the Cake. It's an auto-scroller. It's a fun auto-scroller. Departure Time, Boulevard Baby. Like, he's got a lot of fire missions in this game. So I think he's definitely S tier. Moms, so they're all very different missions. Mama's Boy, that mission sucks. I hate the whole Fight Club thing. Then there's Corner Kids and Clocking Off, which are both fine missions. They're pretty awesome shootouts. But I think I'm gonna put it in B because Mama's Boy brings it down. I hate that mission. Yusuf, oh god. Yusuf is a character. He's got the most unrealistic missions. But his car's cool. But are they that memorable though? I can think of the one where you steal the tank and the one where you steal the buzzard. Then there's the one where his missions are A tier, I think. I think his missions are A tier. Because none of them are like over the top. Like, I love Boulevard Baby. That's probably my favorite mission in Ballad of Gay Tony. But Yusuf, his missions are pretty decent too. Mori. I hate all three of his missions with a passion. I hate Mori as a character, as a mission giver. Okay, so what's the first one? Kibbutz number 1. That shootout, while it may seem cool at first, it's pretty bullcrap because that RPG guy just hides the entire time and you need to kill him, otherwise he will immediately kill you. Crap one. The chase in the boats is just, you just shoot the drivers and it explodes for some reason. Not good. This ain't checkers. I hate triathlons. It's just another freaking race mission. Come on. Please. And then there's number 3, which is the worst mission in Ballad of Gay Tony. Oh my god. So he's staying in F tier. I hate Mori. Moving on. Bulgarin. Bulgarin, he has Going Deep. Whatever the mission is that you break into that place, and in the Crosshairs, which are all good missions. Like, Dropping In, that's what it is. Dropping In is another one of my favorite missions in Ballad of Gay Tony. So, like, Going Deep, though, is really hard. In my Ballad of Gay Tony blind-ish run, it took me several tries to beat that mission. I think I'm going to put him in A tier. Almost S tier. Like, we'll go through and reorder these in a moment. And then finally, we have Rocco, who has one mission. He has Parties Over, which could have been really good and then wasn't executed great. They just funnel in too many enemies at once. It's a cool shootout in the nightclub, though. So I think I'm just going to keep him at B because there's not a whole lot to talk about. And then these two aren't included because they're not really anything. So, and there you have it. That's the mission givers tier. Um, and that's that. I don't think we're gonna go through and individually do each of them because we got to get to the other tier list. So I think we're gonna leave this here and we're gonna do a separate episode with the other tier lists. So thank you for watching the Mission GTA 4 Mission Givers tier list. Have a good night.